All right, guys. Let's just take a minute. How is everyone doing? Anyone have any burning desire to share anything? Or any questions that have not been answered by anyone in your world lately? Everyone doing good? All right, Alexandria, we got to figure out what's going on with your microphone. I don't have it on. Okay, you are able to talk though, yes, if you want. All right, great. Okay, you are all here for Chartmasters, baby in background. Well, thanks for, I was going to say thanks for, I haven't given everyone the same courtesy, clearly. My kids have been in every single video for the last week, I think. All right, guys, what questions do we have about Chartmasters? Well, this should be an easy presentation. Let's start with this. Do we know what Chartmasters is?
Very little.
Very little. Okay. Chartmasters is the evidence that you will share with your clients when appropriate to help move the process along and to essentially validate your experience. Okay. So when people get emotional, and they will get emotional in this process, okay, Chartmasters is what can kind of bring them back to rational thinking. Okay. So for example, and we'll look at Chartmasters in just a second, but this is an example of how data, which is what Chartmasters is, can solve a lot of issues. So let's say, Stephanie, you say, the world is coming apart, no one's doing any transactions, no one's looking at any property, no one's listing any property, the photographers won't take pictures, the landscapers won't do blah, 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 blah. Well, would it surprise you to know that in the last 24 hours, 231 people listed their home? And would it surprise you to know that 324 homes went under contract? Right? Oh, and by the way, 207 families sold their home yesterday, just in the last 24 hours, right? Yes, dear. You're making your appearance. Do you have my schedule? Is that what's going on here? Okay, you can say hi, and then you're going to say bye, okay?
Hi, Miriam.
People. This is Mirinella. This is my daughter. Show her how you can roll your tongue and all that. Okay, done? Okay. You tired?
I want to take a nap.
Yeah. If you take a nap, I'll be absolutely shocked. You haven't taken a nap in 6 years.
Yeah, I know.
Okay, thank you.
No!
Seriously.
I will be easy for bed.
No, you won't.
Just one video and I'll go straight to bed.
All right, thank you for coming in.
Please!
You can watch a video between now and bedtime, not now. And not at bedtime, in between those two times. Seriously. Seriously.
Bye!
Close the door, please. All right, thanks you guys. I know you have 3 of those, no worry. Thank you. Thanks for tolerating all that you have to tolerate. So would it surprise you to know that blah, 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 blah is happening, right? So if you can relay facts to them, then number one, it makes you the expert. And number two, they get more confidence in whatever you're talking about, right? And so I can't express to you how important knowing the market is. So does everyone know where to find Chartmasters?
Kind of.
Okay, so we'll go through where to find it here in 1 second. Oh, one more thing I want to mention about Chartmasters. So Chartmasters is it's an agent. There's a longtime agent out of the Sandy Springs office whose husband is a retired IBM guy, and it's his company. Chuck Carr is his name, Carr. And so he has crunched the data for all of Metro Atlanta, and I'll show you what all that includes in just a second. And you can really read through the content. Basically, every quarter he puts together a big presentation, and every month he sends something called the MMO, the monthly market update, or I'm sorry, monthly market overview. Okay. Now, I'm going to just do a screen share really fast. Hang on. Just 1 second. I'm not currently sharing my screen, right?
No.
All right. We're going to do... Okay, so first you go to mykw.kw.com. Type in your stuff. Right? If you do not know what I'm talking about and you do not know your codes, go to your orientation pamphlet or email Lucy. All right. So here we are at the MyKW page. Okay. By the way, we are an open book company. If you do not know that. So I'm going to show you one really cool thing that I can kind of nerd out on every once in a while. Let me rephrase that. Like once a week. This report tab. So you can go in and see a bunch of really cool reports on what's going on inside Keller Williams and the Market Center. You can see multi-year trends, vital sign reports, profit share reports, agent, Market Center and region rankings, recruiting stats, all kinds of stuff. Okay. So I like to go in sometimes, and I'm just going to show you this really fast because we're talking about statistics, and I want to show you. I want to push you guys to think big, think real big. Okay. So I'm just pulling up a list of the top associates. So this is just for for January and February closed homes. Ben Kinney, the guy who I've been telling you about, the Win, Make, Give podcast. Him and his team have already made almost $1.5 million in GCI. They've already sold 89 units. Lance Loken, who's out of Houston, his team has already made $937,000 in GCI, closed 187.7 units in 2 months. Okay, let's talk about profit share for a second. Linda McKissick, #1 profit share earner in Keller Williams. In the first 2 months of the year, January, February, oftentimes the worst two of all, $67,693 in profit share. Passive income directly deposited into her account. Follow that? It's pretty remarkable. Okay. That's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. In the first page, there's 5 people in the Southeast region, all in Metro Atlanta. The reason is because Atlanta market centers are more profitable than pretty much any other market center across the country because we get FMLS money. You guys don't know how lucky you have it here. Okay. We can talk about profit share off the line. All right, I'm completely off track here. So we're going to go to intranet, market center intranet. See that? I need like a code word for hello. We're talking about Chartmasters here. Does somebody want to be that person for me? Lucy was usually that person for me when we were in the office. She'd put her arm on my shoulder and be like, dude, we're not talking about that. What? Seriously, guys. Okay, so we're going to go to Market Center. I believe it's under documents. Let's double check. Everyone following me? All right, and then we go to Chartmasters. All right, look what pops up. So you got all the quarters of 2006, 16, 17, 18, 19, and it's one quarter behind. So at the end of March, or probably in the next probably in the next 2 weeks or so, they will finish the first quarter because January, February, March, and they'll put out another report. But right now, the most recent update is from fourth quarter of 2019. Okay, so we click on that, and it has a toolkit, which has buyer tools, lead generation tools, seller tools, self-training tools, all kinds of really good stuff in here. Okay, postcard layouts, buyer tools is like assembling the buyer's guide, consulting documents. I mean, it's really, really rich with information here. Okay. We also have something called, hang on, let me go back. Quarterly reports. They split it up into a few different sections. So they have single family homes, which is kind of the default. Then they have condos and townhomes. Okay. Condos and townhomes. They have interactive charts. They have area comparison charts, and they have the big quarterly report. Then they also have Forsyth and Dawson. In town is another section. So if you do a lot of work in town and you want the in town data and not be, include the suburban stuff, then you can click on those reports too. Okay, and it has the in town report specific for in town. So if you're working in a condo or townhome, don't show them the other data because it's not relevant. Okay, so detached properties. Okay, they have area comparison reports. And they have the PDF form or the PowerPoint form, depending on which medium you want to show it to them in. Okay. They also have what's called the monthly market overview. So here we see that here's the report for the end of February. So let's just click on this really fast. So what we see here, I'm giving you, this is normally about an hour-and-a-half presentation when they pull out like the best 25 slides or so. So I'm just going to really cruise through this, but you can see just the material, and I would encourage you. Remember how I told you guys that you should spend a certain amount of time as a new agent? You should be spending probably about half of your time working with learning and half of your time being in your database. And a more experienced agent should probably be about 40% learning, 40% in your database, and about 20% servicing your current clients, right? And executing on all the promises that you've made. Hang on one sec. Okay, so this is, the MMO breaks it down, by the way. See how it says single family detached here? And then hang on. And then here they have condo and townhome. See that? So it kind of includes both. So let's go back up to the top. All right, so it's showing you number of actives, and this is by price range here, right? Number of actives, number of pendings, pending ratio, number of closings in the previous 3 months. What's the foreclosure percentage? So like total foreclosure percentage is 1.1% of the market, short sales 0.2%. So total distressed 1.3%, completely negligible. So if you have a buyer that says, I only want to buy foreclosures, right? You might say, well, in Metro Atlanta right now, that makes up about 1.1% of the marketplace. So I'm curious, what is it about foreclosures that is interesting to you, or that is so appealing to you? Well, I just want a deal. I got to tell you, I didn't particularly like working for those people. I'd give them a deal and then they'd be like, I want a better deal. Right. And I'm not trying to scar you guys here, but I was always curious if I found a deal, and this comes from, I can be a little selfish sometimes, but if I found a deal with 30% equity, why would I trade that deal for 3%? Why wouldn't I go buy it? Does that make sense? And I'm not suggesting that you're not gonna get a deal when you're working with me or with a realtor. But you got to actually give it a little thought, right? Why would I lay down on 100 grand in exchange for 6 grand? That doesn't make any sense, right? So I never personally liked working with a lot of investors. That doesn't mean you can't. You just got to know how they operate and what the pros and cons of each are. Okay. You missed that was Bill, Chartmasters. Come on. Okay. Failed listing percentage. So 33.9% of homes are failing to sell, right? If you're gonna market your property, let's say if you've got a $750,000 to $1 million property, more than half of the time that home's not going to sell. Is that something you might want to express to your client? Yes. This is setting expectations, right? Number of months of supply of listings. What's considered a what do you call it? A balanced market. It's anything shy of 5 months of supply is generally considered a seller's market. Anything higher than 7 months of supply is generally considered a buyer's market, and 5 to 7 months of supply is generally considered a balanced market. If I tell you a seller's market, what does that tell you? That means that there are more buyers in the marketplace than sellers. Yes? Am I being too basic right now? Okay. If I tell you it's it's a buyer's market, then the buyers have the advantage, and that's because there are more listings in the marketplace than there are more sellers in the marketplace than there are buyers. So the listings are like, ooh, I need a buyer, and the buyer might be able to be like, well, if you want me to be your buyer, I'm going to need some closing costs, or I'm going to need you to include that flat screen that's on the wall, or stuff like that, right? So they generally have a leg up in negotiations. So what you can see is basically up to about 750, it's still pretty much a seller's market. But you get up a whole lot beyond 750 and it starts to turn into a buyer's market pretty rapidly. Does that make sense? Part of that is because there's just flat out fewer people that can afford a home at that price, right? So when you're looking at these months after month after month, you can see how they're adjusting. Right? What is the median price? What's the median sales price? Median list price to sales price ratio? Median days on the market, right? So, hey, Kim, you're a realtor, right? We're meeting we're at a little social event or something. Hey, what's the average days on the market these days? Well, 44. I got no idea. I could look that up for you. Any other realtors here? Every party's got at least 4 of them. Anyone know how many days on the market? Okay, because if you don't know these things, I'm gonna go find somebody who does.
Right. That's what I would have had to say. I have to go look it up.
Right, but if you went into, let's say you were at a party with a plumber, and you said, well, how much does it cost to repair or to replace a water heater? And the plumber was like, I have no idea. What would you think? You would think, has this guy ever done this before? Like, has he ever gotten that job? Because I don't think I'd let him in my house, right? He ain't touching my water heater. Does that make sense?
Yes.
So this is like, this is learning. This is learning about the marketplace, okay? So we see.
What if you just break out your chart in the middle of the party? Just break out your chart.
Can I be honest with you?
Yeah.
I'd put it on my Google Drive.
Yeah.
And if
Okay.
somebody wanted to ask me a ton of questions, I'd say, hey, as a matter of fact, my brokerage sends this out to me once a month. Would you prefer the number from 250 to 300 or 300 to 350? Hang on,
Right.
let me go get another drink. Run off to the bathroom, pull it up on my computer and say, oh shit, it is 44. You know, you got to figure out how to make this stuff happen.
Right.
Right? Okay. What is the difference between these two? What am I missing here? Number of active. Okay, so the details are presented slightly different there. And then you can see basically by all of the areas, these are the 41 MLS areas. Okay. A lot of these slides, if you open them up in PowerPoint, you can edit the numbers. So does anyone know where area 21 is? 21 is essentially Buckhead. Okay. 21 is in Fulton County, in between the loop of like 75 and 85 and where Fulton County line is, right near Chastain Park. It kind of makes like a U with a half oval sort of. Okay. So you can see what's going on year over year. So percent change versus same period last year. Okay. So this is looking at the year or the MMO of printed at the end of February of last year. Are things getting better or are things getting worse or no significant change? Right? And this is from the viewpoint of the seller. Okay. So if you look at it here, median days on the market last year was 52. This year it's 102. Okay. Price from 300 to 500. All the areas is not much of a change, but in this price range, it's almost double. Well, I'm living that story. I can tell you that for sure. I mean, I'm just a hair outside of area 21, but I feel that. And the reason is because there's a lot of competition. Does that make sense? So here, supply on the market has gone way down, which kind of is a little odd, if that makes sense. Yeah, see, why would that be? So see, okay, I'm glad we stumbled upon this. See, does everyone know what median is? Median is not average. Median is if you put out all the numbers, right, in a linear fashion, it's the one in the middle. So for example, the median days on the market could be skewed by the very high end. Bucket is a high end market, right? So if there's multi-million-dollar listings and they take 400, 500, 600 days to sell, it's going to have a big impact on the median days. But what's happening here is, first of all, it's a very small sample size. There's only 12 active listings and now there's 6. Make sense? So the data can be very skewed very quickly. So number of failed listings went from 7 to 8, up 14.3%. It's not that big of a deal. It's just one more house, but with a small sample size. So here's the data, and you can kind of ponder a little bit about what all that stuff means. But here you look and you say active days on the market, it's gone up. It's more than doubled. Okay. So you can look, there's total or there's that specific area. So you can go in and see, you know, based on the price range, how are things adjusting? Okay. And here's the condo and townhome reports. Same kind of slide. You see a lot of red here, which generally means the market is softening a little bit. Okay. Color coding based on the effect on sellers. So what I've always been taught to understand is usually the leading indicator of a market is the luxury end of the market and condos and townhomes. That is usually going to clue you into what's coming next. Okay. So this would suggest that we might be in for a little flattening, a little softening of the market. And that certainly is being substantiated with the coronavirus stuff. Okay. And if you're not having a hard time making sense of the data, they have these monthly trend analysis where you can kind of read what it all means. And for example, February of 2011 to February 2012, there are 6.3% less homes on the market, single family detached. Okay. Distressed properties, flat, right? Number of sold, it's a little higher, up 11.4%. Hey, we have median days on the market, it's going up a slight bit. We're up 10%. Last year at this time it was 40. This year at this time it's 44. Are you thinking about selling your home? I'm curious. Are you thinking about selling your home? They're like, whoa, the stats. See what I'm saying? Here's the condos and townhomes, right? Number of actives, there's 20% more actives on the market now than there were in February of 2019, right? And the number of pendings is down 5.2%. So the market's softening a little bit, right? Now you have more homes that have sold, interestingly enough, but now you have more homes on the market. Now that could be seasonal as well. So I like this graph because it shows you what's happening over the last 6 months. So the number of properties available over the last 6 months has been declining. Number of pendings has popped up a little bit. That's probably because of the springtime, right? You look at this graph and you say, ooh, number of distressed properties are up. Yeah, it's 1.1 to 1.3. It's not that big of a deal, right? Median list price sales price ratio is going down a little bit. What does that tell you? It tells you that the sellers and their agents are probably getting a little greedy, right? I mean, it's not huge marks, but it's like 96.9, 96.6, 96.5, 96.4, something to be aware of. Median days on the market's going the opposite way. 25, 28, 32, 35, 39, 44. Hey, days on the market's up. It has almost doubled in the last 6 months, right? So when somebody thinks they know the market because they heard something on CNN, that's like saying it's raining in America. That doesn't tell you anything. Does it make sense? Okay, same things for condos and townhomes. This is also the kind of thing where you might do a video to your database and say, hey, this is the monthly market overview has just been published by our exclusive provider, Chartmasters. I just want to point out a couple of interesting trends. Number one, active listings is up 12%. Sold listings is down. The median days on the market has gone from 22 to 41 in the last 6 months. If you have any questions about this, or you'd like to look at a chart specific to your neighborhood or your county or your school district, let me know. I'll pull a report for you privately, right? So this could be part of a newsletter. This could be part of a Facebook campaign. It could be a lot of different things. It could be a mailer, right? You have exclusive data to that. You have exclusive access to this. We have an agreement with Chartmasters that say they don't provide this to any other company other than KW. Okay, and it's included in the fee that you pay the office on a monthly basis. Not every KW office has it, but there's definitely no other brokers that have it. Okay, so that's an example of the MMO. Any questions on that? Okay, let's go back to the quarterly report. I'm just going to do a quick scan of this report with you and point out a couple of cool slides.
Hey, Bill.
Yes, ma'am.
My question, so I know these are sent out to us every month.
Yeah.
Is there any way that we can generate them like real time, or we have to use the monthly?
You could generate them real time by accessing them on FMLS.
Okay.
If you wanted to see, you know, how many active listings are there at this exact moment, or what is the listing price to sales price ratio in this neighborhood as of today, you could pull this stuff. I mean, it's just a little bit more calculation on your own, but you could theoretically you could do that.
Oh, okay. Okay. Thank you.
Okay, so this is a report. This is, you can kind of read through, you know, how he gets the reports and, you know, what the purpose of some of this stuff. We even have some scripts here. Why should we show stats to prospective sellers? Right? Rather than using emotion, guesswork, and assertions to arrive at your listing price, when you and I are together, understand the real Atlanta market data, showing what actually happened to the other sellers in the current market, it reveals the most likely outcomes of pricing strategies for you. That would be a good idea, wouldn't it? That's a tie down. That would be a good idea. Well, that's not actually an embedded command, but wouldn't it? That's a tie down, right? You're getting agreement. Okay. So it goes into some explanations. These are the counties that it services. These are the FMLS areas. You could even print out a map like this, so it'll help you in your searches, right? So if somebody says, I want to look for homes in North Fulton, then you could say, so the way that the FMLS, which is our primary searching system, delineates, that would be anything north of the Chattahoochee River, which is Fulton County, still in Fulton County. That would include Roswell, Milton, Johns Creek, Alpharetta, and parts of, yeah, that would be it. Is that what you're thinking? Well, I also want to include Norcross. Okay, great. We can do that. Oh, also I want to include Woodstock. Okay, great. Are you looking for a specific school district, or are there any school districts you would not consider for some reason? Yeah, I don't want any school district that is below a 7 in this category. Great. So just so I know we're using the same data source, are you, what website are you using? Can we go ahead and make a list of those places right now? Right. Well, I'm not going to put my kid in Roswell High School District. Great. Okay. Are these other school districts okay? Yes. Okay. So you can set up a search based on excluding Roswell, or Roswell High School, or this particular elementary school, or whatever it may be. Right. So that's an FMLS class, but this will help you understand the different areas. Right. It can kind of get a little tricky when people say areas that are, you know, like Marietta, because there's like 6 different areas that possibly could be Marietta. I might try to get them more into a school district conversation rather than the city conversation, especially with Marietta, because there's 2 or 3 schools that people really like, and there's pretty much all the other schools they don't like as much. Okay. Market share of closed transactions. You know, so I'm going to kind of just real quickly kind of comb through these, but this shows you that Keller Williams has by far and away the market share in Atlanta. Okay. Now there is some deceiving statistics out there that I will explain to you. There are, let me think of who's usually some of the guilty parties here. Okay, so you know how there's a billboard that says Metro Brokers is the largest real estate company in the city? So here's how that works. Metro Brokers is one corporation that owns all of their 28 or 29 offices, and therefore all the 2,500 agents that work there are considered one organization. Keller Williams is independently owned and operated, and so the Roswell office is different from the Alpharetta office, is different from the East Cobb office, is different from the Woodstock office, etc. So they have a company of 2,500 agents. We have a company of 240 agents. Does that make sense? So what do they say? You can make a statistic say anything you want it to say. You just got to ask enough questions to understand where it all came from, right? This is all the Keller Williams offices together. So like a company like Metroworkers is one of the more guilty companies that does this, but they'll say, "Oh, we have more market share than Keller Williams." Yeah, you have more market share at 2,500 agents than the Sandy Springs Market Center does. Obviously, right? So I'll get off my soapbox on that. So here's kind of a really good kind of summary slide. So year-to-date sales, and you can go in here and say like the black or that really dark gray is 2017, the lighter gray is 2018, the red is 2019, right? How are things changing by quarters and by month? So you can see the cumulative home sales, how the median sales price is appreciating. So it looks like in all throughout the year, all quarters and all year, the median price range is improving. So, for example, if let's say we are year to date and the median sales price in 2018 was 270 and the median sales price in 2019 is 290, which is a difference of $14,000, which is about 5%. Does that mean that every home is appreciated 5%? Nope. What that means is the median has appreciated 5%. Okay. Oh, I did some good math. 5.9%. I totally skipped over that. That does not mean that every home is worth 5% more. Okay. That means that the median, that's all it means. So we need to make sure that we're having those conversations. Chartmasters is really good from like a 30,000-foot view. Okay. As I was suggesting earlier, the stats will get you only to a range, right? So we used an example in an earlier call about what's the value of this home? Well, the value is probably a range. Let's say the value is somewhere between 200 and 210. Well, is it worth 206 or 208? It depends on who's selling and who's buying, right? And at what time, right? Let's say somebody gets a chance to buy that home for less than 200. I think most people would say that's a pretty good buy. It looks like you bought for less than you should have been able to buy, right? And if you paid more than 210, you have to say, was there any unusual or interesting or unique circumstances that caused you to debatably pay more for this property than you should have? Well, yeah, my sister lives next door. Okay, there you go. Or my sister's land butts up to this one. So if that's the case, then the house across the street that was $10,000 less, that was exactly the same, isn't as valuable. Make sense? That's why we always have to go really deep with them. So how is the original list price to sales price ratio changed? How's the days on the market changed? This is like party chatter, right? Hey, median days on the market's up 2.6%. Although the list price to sales price ratio is pretty flat. Oh, wow. Tell me more. I'm just curious. Are you thinking about selling? We should meet. You know, you don't want to have your listing appointment with a cocktail in your hand. Get in front of them. Plus, you want to do some preparations too, right? Here's some good slides with respect to the interest level based on number of sold versus weeks on the market. So the vast majority of homes are going to sell at the very beginning of their listing period. See that? And as more and more time goes on, the likelihood of you selling goes down. See that? Same thing with the original list price to sales price ratio. As time goes on, the price goes down. The most sales in the first weeks on the market. It's higher as when you first come onto the market. Longer time on the market equals price reductions and multiple listing periods. Cool. So we need to be at 300. No, I was thinking 325, and then we'll see how it goes in the first 2 weeks. Well, I appreciate your thought on that, but there's something that I do have a concern about that. Do you mind if I show you this graph? This graph, sir, says that the number of homes sold versus time on the market, the longer we wait to get a contract, the lower price you're going to get. Are you comfortable with accepting a lower price in exchange for, quote, testing the market? Well, no. Okay. How many more things do I need to say before you start believing me, sir? Right.
That page was awesome,
What?
by the way. Page 12, that was great.
Yeah. Right. So you might have this handy. And each of these slides it has a larger version in this packet, but you might want to have some of these handy when you are going on an appointment. And earlier we talked a lot about pre-qualification questions, right? So if you know that you're probably going to get an objection around price or commission or something like that based on what how they've answered certain questions you've asked, you might want to be ready to say, well, I'm in charge here. I'm going to set the price, and I want an open house every day, blah, 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 blah. You might want to bring some more stats because that guy is emotional or that woman is emotional. And the reason they're emotional is because they don't feel in control or they don't have all the data they need to have. Okay. So what is the effect of the market on us? It tells us right here. We got fewer options, more buyer competition, fewer bargains, more active market, quicker sales, less negotiation, right? This is from the height of the market, height of the buyer's market, January of 2009 to today in the seller's market. We have the median days on the market used to be 145 and 44 is what it is now. You used to get a home for 80% of sticker price. Now it's 96.4%, sir. So it looks like the last time you bought a home was in 2009. It's going to feel a little different buying a home today. Can I share this data with you? Make sense? So there's all kinds of slides here. Percentage of reduction percentage taken by the price range. Price reduction effect. Right. So here's another really good one that I like. Let's say you are working with a seller that is between $300,000 and $500,000. If they do not have to reduce their price, they will get on average 99.1% of their list price. If, however, they price it wrong, which is just as much your fault as theirs, then they're likely to get 93.1%. So just because you want 300 and I want 320, or I want 300 and you want 325, being wrong could cost us 6%, sir. And in your situation, that's going to be close to $20,000. So can we just spend another couple of minutes examining the data? This is a big deal. Okay, let's review. Here are the 5 homes that cause me to believe that 300 is a better price. Will you show me the 6 homes you've analyzed to show that 325 is a better price? Put our heads together here. It's a big deal. You do want an agent that's going to take the time to level with you and speak to you as an expert because they do this all day, right? Make sense? They're the expert at whatever the hell they do, right? So if they are, you know, let's say they are an IT person. Okay, you're the expert at IT stuff. I'm an expert at real estate. And if you want to be an expert at real estate, that's fine. Show me your evidence. Okay. Here's what happens if we are off on the price, sir. Would you rather make your bed 16 times or 96 times? Would you rather your wife or husband ask you why this home hasn't sold 16 times or 96 times? What was the answer, sir? Okay, that's what I thought. Here's the price. Sign here. Press hard. And they want a strong agent. They don't want an ass, but they want an assertive, strong agent. Does anyone disagree with me? Okay. This is one of my favorite slides in the whole packet here. Okay, remember that, hey, would it surprise, you know, I know you think these homes are on and off the market so fast and they're getting multiple offers and all that, but 34% of the time they're not even selling. They're failing to sell. Would that surprise you? Okay, so it goes up as the price range goes up, as you might expect. There you see that. Putting it all together. All right, let's spend a minute on this slide. They took 100 finalized listings, we just saw, and this is for all price ranges, by the way, 34 of these properties failed to sell. They just flat out did not sell. The vast majority of the time when a listing does not sell, why did it not sell? Does anyone want to take a guess?
It was overpriced.
Price.
Good.
Right.
That is the answer about 99% of the time. The other 1% of the time, it's probably a marketing / access issue. Okay. And that goes back to what does the market will dictate the value. The market suggests that a tank of gas costs $2 right now. If I try to sell it for $2.50, ain't nobody buying it. If I try to sell it for $1.50, I will not be able to breathe because everyone in town will be at my station. Right? So 34% of those 100 did not sell. Those things were overpriced, period. The other 66 did sell. Now, a portion of those sold after a price reduction. Okay, 47% of them, which was a total of 31% of the total listings, sold after a price reduction. When those homes sold, they sold for 92.6% in 89 days. If the home did not need a price reduction, which is in green here, on average, they sold for 99.3% in 13 days. If you could memorize these stats right here, that's probably all you need to do to wow a customer, right? What's the market going? What's the market like? Funny you should say. It really all has to do with price. You know, if there 34% of homes that are listed right now do not sell, and 31% sell only after a price reduction, which means about 65%, 2/3 of homes that you see on the market right now are overpriced. Even though you think the market's moving fast, and it is, 66% of homes or 65% of homes are still overpriced. Now, and what's really interesting, Mr. Person at the bar, is that if the home is lucky enough to sell and it did not need a price reduction before it went under contract, it's going to sell for 99.3% as opposed to 92.6% if it does need a price reduction. That's over 6%. I'm sorry, so yeah, about 6.5%. And it's going to sell in an average of 13 days versus 89 days. So the biggest piece of value that I can give to a client right now is the importance of pricing and how important it is to work with somebody who knows how to price a property properly. Because you have a $400,000 house, right? Okay, well, 6.5% is 30 grand. That's a big jump. See what I'm saying? And you can also do this, it's editable. So if you look up here, if you open in the PowerPoint presentation, you have to have Excel on your computer, but you can input the area. So 13 is North Fulton area 13 is North Fulton west of Georgia 400, right? So that's largely Milton. That's Milton and Roswell, right? And you can see how the prices change, or that stat changes. Here's a slide. Here's a blank one. Where's a blank one? They used to have a blank one in here. But this is the example I was given before, which was seller's desired price is $425. The suggested list price is $400. So if I get my price as the agent, I get 99% because I'm doing it based on that area, that price range, right? So the stats are a little different than what we just looked at. And I'm going to sell my home for $396 on average in 14 days. And here, if they price at $425, even though they price higher than me, they're going to get a lower percentage of the list price, which is $388 in 156 days. So not only are you going to sell your home for almost $8,000 less, you're going to do it in 142 days less on the market, 4.7 months later. And the carrying cost, you add up all your mortgage and insurance and utilities and taxes and all that. If you take my advice and price at $25,000 less, you'll end up with almost $18,000 more. You do want more money in your pocket. Is that correct, sir? Yes. Well, I'm worried I'm going to overprice the home. would it surprise you to know that almost 20% of properties sell at or above list price right now in your price range? What do you think that's an indication of? Well, that's an indication of multiple offers. So multiple offers is kind of the cure-all to underpricing a property. Yes, that's right. Right? Because if, let's say we had an auction and we were auctioning off an iPad, and an iPad, this particular iPad was worth $600, right? Based on the model and how old it was and that stuff, right? And I started the bidding at $650, how many people would bid? No one. If I started the bidding at $500 and I only had one iPad to give away, somebody would bid $500, somebody else would bid $525, somebody else would bid $585, and eventually somebody would probably buy it for $600. Would they buy it for $605? No, because it ain't worth more than $600. Make sense? Now, if there was only one iPad left in the world, or that one was something special with it, or the guy needed to, there wasn't an auction for another 3 days and the guy needed one today, he might be willing to pay $605, right? But it's special circumstances. So this is showing you that, let's say somebody wants to buy a home between $200,000 and $300,000, 31% of the time, they're going to have to pay list price or more than list price to get it. So I like this slide in a buyer presentation. Kim, you telling me you want to buy a home from $200,000 to $300,000? It's awesome. I need you to understand something about the marketplace, though, in this price range. 31% of the time, you are going to have to pay list price or more than list price to get it. So I have a simple question for you. If you tell me exactly what you want and I bring it right to you, would you be willing to pay list price or more in order to secure it? And you say yes, then you're dealing with a very realistic buyer. If they say, there's no way I'm going to pay list price for a home. I want to pay 85% of list price for a home. Well, the stats suggest here, you're going to probably pay 96, 97, 98% of list price. I don't care what the stats say. Well, I know a different realtor that would probably be good helping you because it ain't going to be me. Right? Because every time I go out to help you and I'm leaving my wife and I'm leaving my kids to go deal with you, and you don't listen to a single thing I say, and you don't acknowledge any of the data in the marketplace, we're not going to be successful. Right? That's like the guy saying, oh, I want you to sell this stock of GE for me. I paid 40 for it. So I'd like you to find somebody that will pay 40 for it. Say, sir, the thing's worth 6. Well, I need you to sell it for 40. I don't want this job. See what I'm saying? Get with the picture here. This is the data. I need you to believe the data, or we're not going to be successful working together. Right? So if you say, yeah, I guess if you're telling me I got to pay more than list price to get the home, then I guess that's what I'll do. Awesome. High five. When do you want to go out? This is going to be fun. Right? There's a slide about days on the market. Days on the market for homes that are over list price, right? All sales, 55. Over list price or at list price, 10. Does that surprise you? Of course not, right? And a summary report, so you can just read the summary report if you'd like, so you can really understand. And here's a little key that shows you what the page numbers for each of the slides, right? This is just a wealth of information here. So they have. Again, PowerPoint slides or PDF slides. I do not recommend that you post this whole packet online. This is, I don't have a problem with you posting a slide or two, but remember that this is data that Keller Williams agents have for their exclusivity and for their benefit. So this is really how, number one, you learn the marketplace, and number two, how you can communicate quickly the market data to your peers and to your prospects. But also how you can you can have evidence to support your claims, right? So if you're fighting with somebody over, price reductions or days on the market or relisting, or why you haven't got a contract in 3 days if it's a $3 million home, look, the market for luxury is different, sir. There's only a certain number of people that can afford a home like this. And just so you know, every home that's sold in this area in the last 3 years, I've called every listing agent that was part of the transaction and every buyer's agent that was part of a transaction and introduced myself and told them all about your home. Did your last agent do that? Right? That was a little antagonistic, but saying like, I'm working for you. I mean, let's do this. Don't you think I want to help you sell your home? We're on the same team here, right? You always want to make it that you're on the same team because you are. There's no reason to be adversarial. This is, let's look at the data together. I used to almost never price a home. I'd say, here, what do you think? And I'd have a number in mind. And sometimes I'd have to talk the seller down based on my data. And sometimes I'd have to talk the seller up. So I'd say, I think we should sell for 300. I'd say, I think we can push it a little harder than that. What do you think? Well, I don't know. You're the boss. Great. Sign the papers. Here you go. Let's go. 325. Next thing you know, we're at 330. And they're like, you think that's going to be my client for life? You think he's going to be telling his friends and family at Thanksgiving and Easter and Christmas all about me? Oh yeah. I just made the dude 30 grand. Make sense? Okay, what questions do we have?
This is amazing. It's not
Yeah.
a question, but this is really cool.
Yep.
I was about to say the same. I was like very impressed at all the data that we can use for our listings, even for buyers too.
Yeah, now I would caution you, I do tend to be the guy that's like, cool, a 75-page brochure. Let's make sure they understand every page in here. Like, they don't want to see every page. Now, even the high eyes, they definitely don't want to see it, but they want to know that they're working with somebody who does eat this stuff up,
Yeah.
right? So like I would bring like the binder and say, hey, we got a lot of statistics here. If you want to see any of it, just let me know. But I didn't think you wanted to see it. And they're like, yeah, thank God. We'll bring that thing out, right?
Bill, do you print this every quarter? Do you keep it in a
I used to print about 20 or so slides every quarter. Yes.
Okay.
And I'd have it ready to go when and if it was necessary. And then I would usually do, there was a time, I wasn't perfect about this, but there was a time where I was sending out like a monthly video that just says, monthly market update or something like that, where I'd pick out a cool stat or something unusual and kind of explain what it was and that kind of thing.
Okay.
Right. But you are the expert, right? How do I tell if somebody's the expert? I ask them questions. And what do I want in return? I want evidence. This is the evidence. Right? Because if you say, oh, the market's good, what's that mean? Does that mean you're still in business? Does that mean I'm making money, not making money? Does that mean I should sell, not sell? Like, that doesn't tell me anything. Again, that's like saying it's raining in America. Well, I don't care if it's raining in America. What's it doing in Atlanta? What's it doing in Druid Hills? What's it doing in Roswell? What's it doing in East Roswell or West Roswell? See what I'm saying? So any area that you want, again, I've said this a bunch of times, but if you want to be an expert in a particular area, then what you need to do is, what you need to do is have enough data to prove that. Okay? All right, one quick housekeeping thing. If you have not reported your numbers, please do. And there was a class on Wednesday called High Accountability that was scheduled at 3 o'clock. I have to move that to 12 o'clock on Wednesday. So I'd love to have you at 12 o'clock on Wednesday. I've been asked to be on the Keller Williams task force for profit share. So I have a call that at 3 o'clock. So thank you for being flexible. All right. If you need me, let me know.
Thank
Keep
you.
talking to your accountability partner, okay?
All right. Hey, Kim.
And look at your budget. Stop spending stupid money.
Yes.
Okay. Look at your budget. Look at every single thing you're spending money on and reevaluate it. This problem is not going away in a week. I promise you. Okay. All right. There's plenty of closings happening. Go get some business.
Okay, thank you.
Bye.